Alright then, let's talk about the Arsenal and Porto game. Now, Arsenal ended up losing at Porto 1-0 from a last minute screamer. Despite Arsenal not playing well and having no shots on target, I still think there is potential in the second leg to come away and win this tie. Let's talk about the game. Now, the game was a bit of a big disappointment for Arsenal considering how well they've been playing recently. Now, I know the Champions League is a different ball game and I spoke about this in my recent videos, and I do want to give a lot of credit to Porto. I think they played very well. Now, I think their 4-4-2 pressing system and off the ball system sort of kept us off guard a little bit. We had the good tactics to get away from the ball, but I think our team weren't prepared to be pressed so intensely, especially in the first half. Porto also allowed Arsenal to have the ball, which is very interesting. They're a team that likes having the ball but allowed Arsenal to have it and wanted Arsenal to waste time trying to get the ball down in certain areas which they blocked off. Then they wanted to kick the ball over the top. I said about the possibilities of Trossard not starting, but obviously with injuries I guess he kind of had to, and I think he really struggled to get into the game. Porto had a lot of their midfield covered and the defence worked really well with their midfield moving towards Arsenal's attack. This didn't really give that much space for Trossard. In the end it did give a little bit of space to Odegaard out on the right, but he couldn't really do a lot because they'd come over to him very quickly. Overall, I thought Havertz probably should have been up front in this game and Jorginho double pivot might have worked a bit better. However, I do think it's not all about the tactical decisions. I think there was a lot of times, especially in the first half, where there was a ball over to the left side for Havertz or Martinelli. Havertz kept drifting out to that left side to give him more pressure and Martinelli kept coming inside, but it ended up not working because we were very sloppy on the ball and kept giving the ball away, kept passing the ball out. I also think a lot of our players were just quite sloppy. I think the midfield, I think the defence were quite sloppy in possession. I think they were trying, but I think they weren't on it today. It just seemed like a lot of the things that Arsenal were trying just didn't exactly work, and maybe they're a bit hungover or a bit tired from all the games they have played, but this was obviously a very important game, so we should be up for it. And maybe there is a lack of inexperience there. Maybe that comes into play. I don't necessarily think that's completely the play. I think we didn't play very well and obviously had 0 shots on target. However, us conceding a last minute screamer, in my opinion, is not inexperienced, despite us not being very good defensively in the last few minutes. It was a bit chaotic. That's a really good goal that we couldn't really do too much about, and it's unfortunate that had to go in because a 0-0 draw when you're not playing well away would have been good. But I do think it's a big learning experience for our young players. Porto don't play like many teams in the Premier League, and you're going to get this in Europe. People play wacky ways of playing and do different things, especially at home when teams are going to be a bit more confident against you. They're going to be up for it. And I don't think Arsenal played well, but I think if we didn't concede that last minute goal, people wouldn't be talking about being a crisis yet again because we lost one game. I think there'd be a lot more calm response, and obviously that goal is really annoying because now we've got to go to the Emirates and really got to perform, but I was expecting us to anyway. I don't think this tie is over at any point, and I've said if we can just get away from these away games, I mean preferably with a result or a draw or a win, but I guess we're going to have to take the 1-0 loss in this circumstance. Maybe we can do something bigger at the Emirates because the crowd is going to be behind us and our team are probably going to be a lot more confident. And I think that was the issue. I think our team just looked a bit nervy in possession and they looked a bit nervy trying to do their usual play. They didn't want to make risks and take chances, and in the end they were a bit sloppy with the chances they tried to create in the first place. We're still a threat from corners, that is no doubt about it. I think we should have probably got some shots on target from them, and I do think we did really well in certain situations. I also want to say about the referee, because I know a lot of people complaining, and I completely agree. European referees do not let the game flow at all. People can say they're better than English referees, and they might be in circumstances of getting decisions right, but when I actually want to watch a football game, I don't want to see stoppages of play every 5 seconds. As soon as anyone went on the ball, it's a free kick, and it's not just for the other team, it's for us as well. There was a point in the first half where Gabriel was getting pressed by the Porto defenders and he just went on the floor and got a free kick. That shouldn't be what football's about, and I think the game needs to be flowing a lot better, so hopefully we get a better referee in the home leg. This kept happening as well from the corners we had. We did brilliant corners, but Porto would just jump on the floor or do whatever and they'd get a free kick, and I think it's a joke, and I don't even think the referee is looking at every single thing in the box, so that's an unfair decision to give. And as much as I have said it multiple times, I'm not the biggest fan of Gabriel Jesus, but I think he really would have worked in this game. And I mean, he's got a brilliant Champions League record, which is definitely a factor, and it's such a shame this guy just keeps getting injured because we need his involvement in games like this to really help us and add that lethal touch where he can actually do in the Champions League. But it is a very disappointing result, and having 0 shots on target is simply just not good enough. If you are going to go away to these big European teams, then you've got to perform. Other teams have in the past, but I do think this is a time to be relaxed. I mean, the second leg isn't for a while anyway, and there's a lot of football still to be played before then and in the tie itself. Only halfway done so far, and in the end they actually only scored from a really good goal by Galeno in the last minute. Now he definitely should have scored in the first half where he hit the post and then missed the rebound, but there was a few chances for their team. But overall overall, I still think defensively, despite us looking a bit nervy in a big scary place, I think we still played all right defensively, and it showed a lot of composure in the end. I think when we go to the Emirates, get that confidence, maybe get an early goal hopefully in that game, we can really pin Porto in, because in this game they weren't really pinned much. They'd actually kind of move around and trying to attack us a lot, and hopefully with more players being fully back to fitness like Fabio Vieira then, and maybe Jesus and Zinchenko, we can actually have it a go, because it's not until the 12th of March, which is still a long time away. And the fact we only ended up doing one substitute, being Trossard for Jorginho in the second half, I think proves the depth that we have right now. It's not there, and we don't really have too much going for us. We can't bring players on all the time, so it's just something you got to live with. I do think on the pitch we mostly got outplayed in large parts, and I think they understood what we were trying to do, but I also think there are some points where Martinelli or Odegaard could have got in good spaces, but unfortunately they made a poor touch or poor decision, and hopefully they'll learn this and get more improvement with this time. I really expect us to come back at the Emirates. If we don't, I think there's a really good point to make that we should be doing better, but it's not until then. There's a lot of football to be played. 1-0 is not the end of the world, especially because they scored a really good goal as well, and it weren't just from necessarily poor defending. And it's a situation we haven't been in a very long time, so it's going to take a lot of patience from fans, especially to be ready for this. I think a lot of fans, especially Arsenal fans, are going to be stressing out about this result, and I can understand there is definitely some alarm bells there, but I expect us to come back, and I expect us to be a lot better at the Emirates with the players back. And although you can nitpick of certain things that Arteta did and certain ways that we played, I think overall we did enough to probably warrant a draw, even though we didn't play very well. It's a bit of a boring game like most of the games in the Champions League, and despite Porto, I think, playing really well, they don't have as much quality as us, so it's still a big quality gap there when it comes down to it. I'm usually quite a negative person about life and about football when it comes down to it, but I've actually been really positive about this team, and I'm not deluding in any ways. We are really good and really special. We're just on the edge of being a brilliant, fabulous team. And a lot of the times the Champions League comes down to not necessarily individual quality, but it's luck, more belief and experience, and that is more important in a cup competition than a league competition, I feel like. Especially when our team's experienced to go in all these away games in the Premier League, but they wouldn't have experienced going away to Porto with all their fans going mental trying to win this game. Still not an excuse. Our players are good enough where they should be performing, don't get me, but it'd be very interesting to see how the second leg goes. I don't expect Trossard to start personally when we go into that game, but we'll see what happens before then. We've got Newcastle on the weekend, another big game. They took points of us this year and last year, and if we want to keep our title race with Liverpool winning tonight, we're going to have to win that game. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game, and let me know who you thought actually played well or what you thought actually went wrong for Arsenal, and do you think we can come back in the second leg? I believe so, but I want to see what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate all the support recently. It's been going crazy, and if you liked this video and want to watch any of my other content, I recommend yesterday going to watch my video about how Arsenal can beat Porto potentially in the second leg and for the rest of the tie. Thank you all for watching.